How do extracurriculars vary in different settings? Who are we looking at? High school students. What are we looking at? Extracurricular activities. First, we're going to take a look at the socioeconomical differences. Starting off with extracurriculars in lower class high schools. What does it mean to be lower class? Being lower class means you have less resources and unequal opportunities. In the article, extracurricular involvement in the school age period and adolescent problem behavior among low-income youth, they say youth from lower income households may face many challenges accessing extracurricular activities beyond family level financial constraints. For instance, in recent years, many schools have cut funding for after school activities, with low income schools disproportionately being affected. So these lower class schools are facing the challenge of their school activities being cut, and low-income schools are being targeted at a higher rate than any of these other schools. So what do extracurricular activities look like in these schools? Well, they lack even the most popular extracurriculars because of their lack of resources. In the article, Inequality Outside the Classroom, Growing Class Differences in Participation in Extracurricular Activities, they say that struggling with budget cuts and deficits, many school districts have cut back on their funding for drama clubs and music programs and either reduced the number of after-school spots offered or they put a hefty price tag on participation. The end result is that an increasing number of low-income students find themselves left on the sidelines. So this just says that they're already cutting programs or they put a number of limited spots, or they put a heavy price tag on it, so that means that lower income students can't buy into that program, so therefore they have no program to be a part of because they can't afford it, and that leaves them left on the sidelines. They later say that our findings are alarming. While upper middle class students have become more active in school clubs and sports teams since the 1970s, working class students have become increasingly disengaged and disconnected, their participation rates plummeting in the 1990s and remaining low ever since. So they have found a correlation between upper middle class students becoming more involved and lower class students becoming less involved. So how do these extracurriculars or lack of affect students? Without access to most common extracurriculars, this hurts the children. To reuse the first article, they say extracurricular involvement may protect youth from the development of social, emotional, and behavioral problems in a myriad of ways. Depending on their content, activities may provide opportunities for youth to learn specific skills, express themselves creatively, become more physically active, and/or improve academic performance. These students have no way to express themselves if they can't afford a specific extracurricular, and this sets the children up for failure, and it's not fair to them at all.
Moving on to extracurriculars in upper class high schools. So what does it mean to be upper class? Upper class schools usually have more resources and opportunities for their students. This is because the school is located in a wealthier area, or the families that have students that attend these schools are wealthier, or it could be both. And what do extracurriculars look like in these schools? According to an article by Elizabeth Stearns and Elizabeth Glennie in 2009 titled Opportunities to Participate, Extracurricular Activities Distribution Across Academic Correlates in High Schools, schools place a constraint on the extent to which students can invest in extracurricular participation in the form of academic availability. Many schools and community members might donate time, space, or materials to help with extracurriculars, and these resources from the school and community are only likely to be available in areas with more money. Additionally, higher levels of funding are frequently translated into more tangible and intangible resources for students, such as lower class sizes, better technology, and more qualified teachers. The per-student expenditures reflect financial resources that can enhance the availability of extracurricular activities. So schools with more money have more resources to establish more clubs and extracurriculars, which in turn leads to higher participation in those extracurriculars. Also, parents in upper class areas also tend to be more involved in their students' extracurriculars activities. This can look like volunteering at events or even like chaperoning trips that the high schools will take. I know from personal experience that my high school was located in an upper class area and we had various opportunities to get involved with extracurriculars. There were many academic activities, sports activities, and arts activities that were available to students. And additionally, we had a lot of funding from teachers in the community that allowed students to even create their own clubs. So how do these extracurriculars impact students? There are both positive and negative impacts to students' mental health and well-being in upper class high schools. According to a study by the American Psychological Association in 2006, excessive involvement in extracurricular activities could possibly heighten distress both directly and indirectly by compromising families' leisure time. This study also found various different findings, including the upper class teenage girls with high activity involvement showing higher substance use than those in lower class who were not involved in as many extracurriculars. Additionally, teenage boys with higher activity levels were found to have higher grades than those who did not participate in extracurriculars. Students from affluent families were also seen to have stricter parents, tenser family dynamics, and be held to higher standards. This can be interpreted in a positive and negative light. It just depends how you view it. Obviously, there are positive and negative aspects to having stricter parents. And then referring back to the article by Elizabeth Stearns and Elizabeth Glennie, students that participate in extracurriculars provide many benefits, including giving them a sense of belonging, which in turn increases the probability that the student will stay enrolled and increase academic achievement.
So next we're going to be discussing the geographic differences in high schools. So the first question is, what characteristics make a high school urban? High schools that are considered urban are typically in a densely populated city within a metropolitan area. It often serves a very large, diverse student body, which can therefore affect the resources and extracurriculars that the students will receive. According to a research article by Taylor and Francis, while almost 75% of school districts in the United States have fewer than 5 schools, the largest 100 school districts enroll almost 1/4 of total public school students and average 158 schools each. In relation to urban high schools, this shows how urban schools are a part of a much larger district than other schools. This also means a bigger student body and a bigger community surrounding them. Most of the time, these urban high schools tend to be located in a larger city, which provides unique challenges and barriers to the extracurriculars that are offered by the school. And then the next question is, what do extracurriculars look like in these schools? Extracurriculars in urban schools tend to serve as a safe space for students. There are a variety of offerings of after-school activities. Unfortunately, the reality is that the distribution of these resources for schools to run these programs are uneven. This means that schools will try their best with what they're given. However, there are many programs that have positively impacted urban students' lives. There are many community partnerships like the YMCA and Boys and Girls Clubs that support students who need a safe space to go to after school. There are also a lot of involvement opportunities that are student-led, which creates leadership skills. These extracurriculars also provide a safe space for students who live in the metropolitan area that surrounds the school and may feel safer at their activity than at home. The last part is, how do these extracurriculars impact students? A 2019 study by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that students in urban schools who participated in structured after-school programs had a 55% greater odds of enrolling in college, a 20% reduction in disciplinary actions, and improved mental health markers, especially in high-stress neighborhoods. Students in urban schools who are provided with structured after-school programs such as a sport or a club are given great life skills to help them succeed. Many people who have received these programs attribute their success to them. These programs also help bridge opportunity gaps, reduce risk factors, and provide a great support system for students navigating complex urban environments. These are all ways that extracurriculars can heavily impact students in a positive way.
Now we're going to talk about extracurriculars in rural high schools. So the first question was, what problems are faced when planning extracurriculars? In rural communities, the populations are significantly smaller than urban areas. These communities lack resources that other areas have. Things like funds, big communities, and transportation access are just some of the things these communities lack. When rural high schools plan extracurricular activities, they come across problems that wouldn't necessarily be problems elsewhere. They have had to figure out what the students at their schools are interested in. They can't have every extracurricular because it could fail due to the lack of interest students have. Another problem they face is being short on faculty. These schools already don't have extra staff, which means the faculty's workload becomes a lot more time-consuming. Finding faculty that has that workload and wants to be part of extracurriculars becomes tough. The next question is, how are rural high schools limited because of the population? Having the lack of students and staff and not knowing the interest of everyone in the school makes the process of trial and error become present. These schools have to try extracurriculars out and see if they succeed or not. If they don't succeed, they have to fully get rid of it and try another activity. This limits these schools so much because if a group of people don't want to participate, then they will have to get rid of the activity because of the funding and the lack of community. The last question is, can extracurriculars be successful in rural high schools? And there is an extracurricular in a rural high school that has been very successful. You wouldn't think of it as an extracurricular because people usually assume an extracurricular is a sport or a physical activity, but anything done outside of school is considered an extracurricular. This school started a writing program. It was made for students to learn and excel in writing while also allowing them to tell their own personal stories. They don't have to have any writing background, they just have to be interested. They give these students even bigger opportunities though. They are given chances to write little sections of newspapers and they can engage in local clubs. This group of people have even encouraged people outside of rural communities to start writing about their own stories. Overall, not all extracurriculars in rural high schools fail. It just takes the right group of people to make it successful. These are all of our sources that we used. Thank you.